Today, let's dive into the dubious nutrition advice that still circulates despite all the scientific evidence available. Even with countless studies and findings from institutions like the National Institutes of Health, outdated recommendations from nutritionists and dietitians continue to persist. In this video, we're going to break down the most common pieces of advice given by certified nutritionists, dietitians, and even doctors, to understand why these recommendations are not just outdated, but potentially harmful. It's important to remember that, like any profession, there are both good and bad practitioners. You'll find two experts with completely opposite opinions on the same subject, whether it's doctors, personal trainers, or nutritionists. This inconsistency often leads to confusion, especially when outdated ideas are presented as fact. Let's discuss the reality behind these outdated recommendations, particularly when you might encounter them from a nutritionist. If you ever find yourself being pulled into their office, you'll know exactly what to expect and how to counteract the misinformation. We all know that professions have their highs and lows, and nutrition is no different. There are those who stick to the outdated guidelines they learned years ago, and those who continue to educate themselves, realizing that modern science tells a very different story. Here's an example. A nutrition professor might teach that 60% of your daily calories should come from carbohydrates, particularly whole grains, to maintain stable energy levels and insulin balance. Yet, that same professor might personally follow a low-carb, paleo diet, eating almost no carbohydrates except for those found in vegetables. This contradiction is startling and is the kind of inconsistency that raises red flags for those who are paying attention. Through my personal experiences and research, I've learned that what we were taught in school doesn't always align with what science now knows to be true. For instance, after extensive study and testing, I discovered that high carbohydrate intake, as traditionally recommended, isn't necessary for sustained energy and health. In fact, a lower carbohydrate intake can lead to better energy levels, weight loss, improved skin, and overall better health outcomes. Moreover, I've seen these principles work firsthand. Clients who switched to a lower carbohydrate diet reported not only weight loss but also improvements in sleep, energy levels, and overall well-being. Their blood work confirmed significant improvements in cholesterol levels and triglycerides, debunking the myths they had been told about the necessity of high carbohydrate diets. So, what should you do when you're told by a nutritionist or doctor that you need to eat a lot of carbohydrates or whole grains? Remember, these recommendations are often based on outdated science. Let's break down some common misconceptions. Number 1. You need carbohydrates for energy. This is a myth. Human beings have survived and thrived on low-carb diets for millions of years, using fats and ketones as their primary energy source. Today, many athletes successfully run marathons on low-carb diets, relying on fat rather than carbs for energy. Number 2. You need whole grains for fiber. While fiber is essential, it doesn't have to come from grains. Vegetables, nuts, seeds, and other whole foods provide more than enough fiber without the additional sugars found in grains. Number 3. You need to keep your insulin levels stable with complex carbs. This is another outdated concept. What really matters is the overall load of insulin your body needs to produce throughout the day, not just how quickly or slowly it spikes. Low-carb diets can help maintain stable insulin levels without the spikes associated with carbohydrate consumption. Number 4. Whole grains are packed with vitamins and minerals. The truth is, animal products like eggs, fish, and meat are far more nutrient-dense than grains. Comparing nutrient profiles shows that grains simply don't measure up to these other foods in terms of vitamin and mineral content. By understanding these points, you'll be better equipped to recognize and challenge outdated nutrition advice when you hear it. Remember, not all nutritionists are created equal, and it's crucial to stay informed about the latest scientific findings. So, the next time you hear someone recommend a high-carb diet for energy, fiber, or stable insulin levels, you'll know the real story. Don't let outdated advice confuse you. Stay informed and continue to educate yourself on what really works for your body. And remember, the principles of human biology won't change. Eating in a way that aligns with how our bodies have evolved to function will always be the best approach. Watch this video as many times as needed to reinforce these concepts, and stay strong in your journey with MotivatedFit. Your Elise.